Kenesaw Mountain Landis was an American jurist who served as a federal judge from 1905 to 1922 and as the first commissioner of baseball from 1920 until his death. He is remembered for his handling of the Black Sox scandal, in which he expelled 8 members of the Chicago White Sox from organized baseball for conspiring to lose the 1919 World Series and repeatedly refused the reinstatement requests. His firm actions and iron rule over baseball in the near quarter-century of his commissionership are generally credited with restoring public confidence in the game. Landis was born in Millville, Ohio in 1866, his name a spelling variation on the Battle of Kennesaw Mountain in the American Civil War, where his father was wounded in 1864. Landis spent much of his youth in Indiana. He left school at 15 and worked in a series of positions in the state. His involvement in politics led to a civil service job. At age 21, Landis applied to become a lawyer. There were then no educational or examination requirements for the Indiana bar. Following a year of unprofitable practice, he went to law school. After his graduation, he opened an office in Chicago, but left it when Walter Q. Gresham, the new United States Secretary of State, named him his personal secretary in 1893. After Gresham's death in 1895, Landis refused an offer of an ambassadorship, and returned to Chicago to practice law and marry. President Theodore Roosevelt appointed Landis a federal judge in 1905. Landis received national attention in 1907 when he fined Standard Oil of Indiana more than $29 million for violating federal laws forbidding rebates on railroad freight tariffs. Though Landis was reversed on appeal, he was seen as a judge determined to rein in big business. During and after World War I, Landis, an ardent patriot, presided over several high-profile trials of draft resistors and others whom he saw as opposing the war effort. He imposed heavy sentences on those who were convicted. Some of the convictions were reversed on appeal, and other sentences were commuted. In 1920, Judge Landis was a leading candidate when American League and National League team owners, embarrassed by the Black Sox scandal and other instances of players throwing games, sought someone to rule over baseball. Landis was given full power to act in the sport's best interest, and used the power extensively over the next quarter-century. Landis was widely praised for cleaning up the game, although some of his decisions in the Black Sox matter remain controversial. Supporters of Shoeless Joe Jackson and Buck Weaver contend that he was overly harsh with those players. Others blame Landis for delaying the racial integration of baseball. Landis was elected to the National Baseball Hall of Fame by a special vote shortly after he died in 1944. Early life and prejudicial career. Boyhood and early career. Kenesaw Mountain Landis was born in Millville, Ohio, the 6th child and 4th son of Abraham Hock Landis, a physician, and Mary Kumla Landis, on November 20, 1866. The Landises descended from Swiss Mennonites who had emigrated to Alsace before coming to the United States. Abraham Landis had been wounded fighting on the Union side at the Battle of Kennesaw Mountain in Georgia, and when his parents proved unable to agree on a name for the new baby, Mary Landis proposed that they call him Kenesaw Mountain. At the time, both spellings of Kenesaw were used, but in the course of time, Kenesaw Mountain became the accepted spelling of the battle site. Abraham Landis worked in Millville as a country physician. When Kenesaw was 8, the elder Landis moved his family to Delphi, Indiana, and subsequently to Logansport, Indiana, where the doctor purchased and ran several local farms. His war injury had caused him to scale back his medical practice. Two of Kenesaw's 4 brothers, Charles Berry Mary Landis and Frederick Landis, became members of Congress. As Kenny, as he was sometimes known, grew, he did an increasing share of the farm work, later stating, "I did my share and it was a substantial share in taking care of the 13 acres. I do not remember that I particularly liked to get up at 3:30 in the morning." Kenesaw began his off-farm career at age 10 as a news delivery boy. He left school at 15 after an unsuccessful attempt to master algebra. He then worked at the local general store. He left that job for a position as errand boy with the Vandalia Railroad. Landis applied for a job as a brakeman, but was laughingly dismissed as too small. He then worked for the Logansport Journal, and taught himself shorthand reporting, becoming in 1883 official court reporter for the Cass County Circuit Court. Landis later wrote, "I may not have been much of a judge, nor baseball official, but I do pride myself on having been a real shorthand reporter." Quote, he served in that capacity until 1886. In his spare time, he became a prize-winning bicycle racer and played on and managed a baseball team. Offered a professional contract as a ball player, he turned it down, stating that he preferred to play for the love of the game. In 1886, Landis first ventured into Republican Party politics, supporting a friend, Charles F. Griffin, for Indiana Secretary of State. Griffin won, and Landis was rewarded with a civil service job in the Indiana Department of State. While employed there, he applied to be an attorney. At the time, in Indiana, an applicant needed only to prove that he was 21 and of good moral character, and Landis was admitted. Landis opened a practice in Marion, Indiana, but attracted few clients in his year of work there. Realizing that an uneducated lawyer was unlikely to build a lucrative practice, Landis enrolled at Cincinnati's YMCA Law School in 1889. Landis transferred to Union Law School the following year, and in 1891, he took his law degree from Union and was admitted to the Illinois bar. He began a practice in Chicago, served as an assistant instructor at Union, and with fellow attorney Clarence Darrow helped found the nonpartisan Chicago Civic Center Club, devoted to municipal reform. Landis practiced with college friend Frank O. Loden, the future commissioner, and his law partner went into debt to impress potential clients, buying a law library second-hand. Washington years and aftermath. In March 1893, President Grover Cleveland appointed federal judge Walter Q. Gresham as his Secretary of State, and Gresham hired Landis as his personal secretary. Gresham had a long career as a political appointee in the latter part of the 19th century, though he lost his only 2 bids for elective office. He served in 3 cabinet positions and was twice a dark horse candidate for the Republican presidential nomination. Although Gresham was a Republican, he had supported Cleveland in the 1892 election because of his intense dislike for the Republican nominee, President Benjamin Harrison. Kenesaw Landis had appeared before Judge Gresham in court. According to Landis biographer J.G. Taylor Spink, Gresham thought Landis had something on the ball, and believed that Landis's shorthand skills would be of use. In Washington, Landis worked hard to protect Gresham's interests in the State Department, making friends with many members of the press. He was less popular among many of the department's senior career officials, who saw him as brash. When word leaked concerning President Cleveland's Hawaiian policy, the president was convinced Landis was the source of the information and demanded his dismissal. Gresham defended Landis, stating that Cleveland would have to fire both of them, and the president relented, later finding out that he was mistaken in accusing Landis. President Cleveland grew to like Landis, and when Gresham died in 1895, offered Landis the post of United States ambassador to Venezuela. Landis declined the diplomatic post, preferring to return to Chicago to begin a law practice and to marry Winifred Reed, daughter of the Ottawa, Illinois postmaster. The two married July 25, 1895. They had two surviving children, a boy, Reed, and a girl, Suzanne. A third child, Winifred, died almost immediately after being born. Landis built a corporate law practice in Chicago. With the practice doing well, he deeply involved himself in Republican Party politics. He built a close association with his friend Loudon and served as his campaign manager for governor of Illinois in 1904. Loudon was defeated, but would later serve 2 terms in the office and be a major contender for the 1920 Republican presidential nomination. A seat on the United States District Court for the Northern District of Illinois was vacant. President Theodore Roosevelt offered it to Loudon, who declined it and recommended Landis. Other recommendations from Illinois politicians followed, and Roosevelt nominated Landis from the seat. According to Sping, President Roosevelt wanted a tough judge and a man sympathetic with his viewpoint in that important court. Loudon and Landis were, like Roosevelt, on the progressive left of the Republican Party. On March 18, 1905, Roosevelt transmitted the nomination to the Senate, which confirmed Landis the same afternoon, without any committee hearing.